I am joined by John Michael Chambers, founder of GMC Broadcasting. Come on, I know you all have seen him, heard about him. I tell you, it's intelligence driven media platform that goes beyond mainstream reporting, that's for sure. JMC isn't your typical news outlet. It's a military intelligence and economic portal bringing together experts to address what people are truly asking right now, because people are they're asking questions. And I tell you, GMC Broadcasting is bringing the truth before you. You know what? A little bit about John. He's a songwriter. I love that. Not only a speaker, but an author, but more than that, he's a visionary, navigating what many believe is a global paradigm shift, a time of exposure, I have to say, awakening and transformation. So I want to welcome John to the broadcast, Upfront in the Prophetic today. There's a lot unfolding right now, and I'm excited to be packing it, unpacking it. It's been packed, but we're unpacking it, John. So thank you so much for joining me today on Upfront in the Prophetic. What a blessing. Before we get started, we were chatting a little bit before the broadcast went live, and you mentioned something that really hit me, and that was what made you step into this arena? I mean, because it's for such a time as this that God has brought you to the forefront.
You know, for as long as I can remember, we're talking about awareness of my consciousness as a child, let's say, I've questioned everything. And of course, I never had any answers. I had a good life, I had wonderful, beautiful parents, four sisters. But finally, you fast forward to a specific moment, in the quest for truths in life as you go through the game. And what happened is, I don't know the year, but I remember the event. It's like JFK when JFK. I'm 67 years old, so when JFK was assassinated, I know exactly where I was. I remember exactly what happened. Those type of moments, they stay with you, and so did the moment of what we'll call my awakening or my first rabbit hole. I don't have the year, but I have the event. I'm going to say it was probably mid late 90s. Uh, a friend of mine handed me a double VHS cassette, so that dates us back.
Wow.
Yeah, uh, called The Money Masters. Now,
Mhm.
folks listening to us right now, you can get that for free today on YouTube. The Money Masters with by Bill Still, and that's a fictitious name, and you should absolutely watch it. But that was put into my hands, and it basically spoke about far more than the Federal Reserve. Everything, what is money, the history of it, and so forth and so on. I mean, a double VHS, a lot of data, and it, of course, comes straight up to the Federal Reserve and that story. And then I was like, wow, I knew there was something going on behind the curtain. And, there's always war, there's famine, there's disease, there's crime, there's nothing is harmonious. What is going on? They're killing our presidents, they're killing all the leaders of the world, and boy, that did it for me. And she also handed me a newsletter. I don't know if it's still around, but I went on to read it for 20 years. It's called the McIlvaney Intelligence Advisor,
Mm.
Don McIlvaney. This is from the old days. He did great work for 4 decades. He's now, if he's still with us, in the Philippines and Indonesia doing missionary work. He has adoption places for children and so forth. But those things woke me up, and the rest is history. Of course, when the greatest open source military intelligence operation of our time, known as the Q boards, when that was launched, that assisted me and many others in a fantastic way.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. When what is it now? QAGG or something like that, or AGG, the Q board that people can tap into. But
Mhm.
yeah, when that popped in, and then the news that we would get from the Q board, it's like it was so prophetic to me. I was like, oh my gosh, and now we're having deltas and everything, and it's all before us. It's so exciting, John.
It is, and to continue that story real quick, so I became a financial advisor in 1998 or 9, somewhere in that space, getting my licenses and going through that process. And at the same time, as I started on that path, that's when I was given, and I don't think it's a coincidence, I was handed this information about the Federal Reserve and the monetary system. And I was like, uh-oh, I just went through all this hell to get these licenses and excited to start this career at age 40 or whatever it was. And and I did. And I stayed in it for 12 years. I had 6 independent offices in 3 states. According to the industry associations I belonged to, I was in the top 1% out of 350,000 advisors worldwide at the time in terms of my level of production. I left with a perfectly clean ethics record. And I wasn't a stock jock. I did estate and retirement planning, basically. But the reason I invoked that last life, I call it, is because it's interesting. I can only see it now in hindsight. You know, here I am getting ready to be a financial advisor, and somebody puts in my hand the real truth about the industry I'm about to get into. I'm like, oh boy. But I stayed in it, it was my journey, and no regrets. I learned so much about myself. I helped a lot of people. I made some money. I employed people and so forth. But, I couldn't do it anymore. Really, it was the higher calling. I just couldn't do it. I left at the height of my career,
Mm,
transitioned it, and formed the Save America Foundation, a 501c4 in Pinellas County, Clearwater, Florida, back in those days, somewhere in there, 2008 or 9. Yeah, and I did a radio show, Freedom, It's Up to Us, on Salem Communications Network in Tampa, the 860 WGUL. A good friend of mine, Dr. Kirk Elliott, he's an economist. He was a frequent guest. And I interviewed Sheriff Mack and G. Edward Griffin, a whole bunch of people at the time. And so I was leaving, making money as a financial advisor, uh, into um, into the truth movement, learning as I went, and then putting it out there. So radio, Save America Foundation, we held a large scale convention. We had Sheriff Mack, Geowood Griffin, just a whole lot of names I can't recall at this point. It's a 2.5-day convention. Um, we cut our teeth into this long time ago. This is 2008, 9, 10, 11.
mm.
Then I left the country. And when I was in Thailand back in 2000, I don't know, 14, somewhere in there, had a concussion. I was climbed this mountain, scaled down to these big boulders. Gulf of Thailand was there. I turned around to not face the water, to look at my seating because I wanted to sit down and enjoy. I just hiked the mountain. It was 100 degrees. And I sit down on the rock and I slipped because the wave came and it knocked me out. I don't know how long I was knocked out, but I had a pretty bad concussion. It took me a few months to be able to walk and to see without the room moving and these sorts of things. And I look at it now as a wake up call. First, I fell off a motor scooter without a helmet. That didn't do it. This concussion did it because I was floored in my bed. Again, I had a neck brace. I couldn't move, and and I had a lot of time to think. And then all
Mhm.
of a sudden, and a year before, I'm sorry, I never didn't think I'd get into this story, but I'm
No, that's
into it.
good.
Let me get out of it. Um, I A year or so before that concussion, in a different place in Thailand, I I really had nothing to do. I had semi-retired to Asia, and I was writing. I wrote a book which I didn't publish called "Misconceptions and Course Corrections," a series of essays on life and living. And in one of those chapters, I wrote because at the time, if you go back to Obama, he was president, um, and Bush, that nightmare transition, and both of them, especially Obama, but both of them, we know all about the Bushes, and so I wrote in this book. It was really a manuscript. It was therapy for myself. I had to do something with everything I saw in life, so I figured I'd write it down and see what I got from it. And one of the things I wrote was, this is pre-Trump coming down the escalator. I said, something like, I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel at that time because there was none. They pulverized us. It
Oh my
was
God.
the
Right?
end. America was pretty much over, and I said I believe that the most unlikely person in our hour of need will arrive and provide the
Wow.
desperate leadership that we need to save America and redirect humanity. And that was a paraphrase of what I had written in the book back then. And then as I'm finishing up the book, June 15th, I recall, 2016, Is that it? Or 20 June 16, 25th. Comes down the escalator, and I'm like, well, there's the most unlikely person. And
Right.
I'm from New York, as you probably detected.
No, not at
And thank goodness for that. Later, if I get excited and motivated, it'll come out. Um, I'm from Queens, just like President Trump. That's where I was born and then raised on Long Island. But I uh, I knew a lot about Trump because he was our big guy. We knew the Trump story, building, changing Manhattan with Rudy, and I was a New Yorker. I watched it all happen, and I never liked the guy. Never liked him. I said braggadocious billionaire, womanizer. Um, uh, Respected his success. That I did. I just didn't like his tonality. He was too much about himself. Of
all.
course, then later I started to see he wasn't about himself more and more
Exactly.
when he became an expert witness for the bank mess we had back in those years. But you fast forward. So here it is now. I'm writing this. I'm in Thailand, and there's Trump. And I said, well, I'm going to listen up. And, he sat down. We all remember he came down the escalator with Milana. He sat down by the news press. Wow. What happened? Are we still live?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. Everything disappeared. I'm glad we're live. Okay. So then what happened is the president spoke and I listened and I said, boy, he's saying all the right things. So much so that I was skeptical. I would never speak this way to the president today. I would take a bullet for Donald Trump today. But
Mm,
back then, I watched the journey, and a couple of 3 months into it, I said, no, no, this is real. This is the guy. This is what I wrote about a year before. The most unlikely person in our hour of need will come to and I'm not an expert in the Bible. I can't quote the phrases and such. It doesn't mean I'm not a believer. I am. I don't go to a building to believe. Building's right here. But I'll tell you what, um, I knew who chose Trump because this is so
mm.
big, and I saw it, and I threw everything into it. But anyway, that you asked me a question about when did I wake up, or when did
Yeah,
it happen? So,
right. Exactly.
yes.
Jumping into the arena because I really believe it was perfect timing. And, it's funny, a lot of people that I've interviewed felt the same way that you did, John, in regards to, they really didn't like him. Um, I know for myself, I lived down the street from him, from Mar-Largo, and we used to
Hmm.
have Bible study there. And we would hear the stories of how much he would give, and help his employees and help the people
Hmm.
around. So I knew a different side of what
Hmm.
everybody else, basically saw and heard, you know. But just to see everything unfold right now, it's just amazing. And that prophetic word that you had in regards to, yeah, we need somebody unlikely, no one would expect to stand up and arise, and here he is. So,
Yes.
wow,
And
perfect.
if I may finish that
Yeah,
story off on a interesting positive note that kind of takes us a little bit closer to real time right now. So I'm in bed learning how to walk with a walker. The room would switch on me like an old microfilm thing because those crystals, I forget what they're called, got dislodged from the concussion, and sometimes they never find their place
oh,
back
yeah,
in.
sure.
So that's what I was experiencing. But at the same time, Trump's arriving and
Right.
and and slowly but surely I worked my way to a computer, and I was able to spend maybe a half hour, 40 minutes a day before the room would spin and go back to bed. And I launched the website. It's a different johnmichaelchambers.com than from today, but back then in 2015, 16, I wrote it. 2015, I guess it was. um, I launched the website, and as I started to get better, I watched every single thing Trump did. I watched every fake news broadcast at the time because we weren't that heavy on social media then, and I just absorbed it all and reflected upon it. I wrote 400 articles over a year or so, and which turned into a book. So then the concussion during this, so the concussion's leaving me a bit. I'm writing, and then God is telling me, come back home. It's time to come back home, finish your work. That's kind of why I woke you up with that concussion, young man. And so I did. I did what I usually don't do. I'm sort of like Trump, sort of a pretty grounded, to the confident, to the borderlining arrogance, that New York thing. And it's hard for one to spiritually surrender when you've got all that as your upbringing. And I
Mhm.
surrendered. I knew. I said, this is it. I had tearful moments all by myself. And I packed up, got on a plane. Somebody put me, because I already sold all my homes and everything. And somebody put me up in a house. He needed my help. We worked out an arrangement. And I wrote the book, Trump and the Resurrection of America, which Robert David Steele got a hold of. And he contacted me. It's the first time I learned of Steele. He gave it a 6-star rating, which I couldn't believe. But that's what brought me back home. And it was
Mhm.
Ohio, which really wasn't my home, but that's where I landed. And I wrote the book, spoke, all over the country, selling the book and doing speeches, and watching the Trump phenomenon unfold. My book was published, I think February 2016, so he was just inaugurated, and what a time! I think if I have my dates wrong a little bit, maybe, but anyways, fantastic. And the rest of the journey's been, I had American Media Periscope. We
Mhm.
were trailblazing online digital news network. I was a media partner from day one with General Michael Flynn and Clay Clark's Reawaken Tour. I was a platform speaker. Um, you and I were chatting off air, just a quick of my journey, because I really hope we have time to get into the issues of the day,
Yeah,
because I don't
we
usually talk
no
about
worries.
myself.
No,
But
I'm glad, and that's why I wanted to bring that up to the forefront because you generally do not. So I wanted the people that perhaps do not know who you are kind of get a snapshot of that. So please feel
Mhm.
free.
Yeah, I'll just finish it off. So what happened is I was really just I'll use this term, a pissed off patriot, watching what I already was studying down the rabbit holes for years that now Trump was bringing to the surface. And then Q was like, wow, like, how did I get here? It was never on my bucket list to be a, yeah, someone reporting information or news, or, I couldn't spell internet, never mind start a news network. And I did. I got thrown off of YouTube, but we started to have some momentum. And as soon as I did, I got deplatformed, and I was very upset because
Mm.
I was on track with my purpose in life, and I
Oh.
didn't know, well, what am I going to do now? And I was furious, and so I worked that out by myself in, in a padded four walls, screaming for 2 days. And I said, well, what would Trump do? He would
Mm.
double down and counterpunch. I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. And so I formed American Me. I said, I don't need you and your stupid YouTube. I'll figure it out. And you know what? Lord works in interesting ways. A good friend of mine, 5th Special Forces Green Beret in Vietnam. I'll say his name because I brought him onto Trump's Doral stage at my farewell speech at the Clay thing. His name is Paul St. John. And Paul introduced me, and I can mention her name now too. I had to keep her name a secret for all these years until she got on the stage, the memorial for Charlie Kirk. She was one
Mhm.
of the platform speakers, and she shared with everybody what I might share with again in a minute. But anyway, I'm all over the map here. Pardon me, folks. I got up at 6 in the morning. It's morning here. I'm in Thailand. Don't look at the green screen. The sun's coming up. I just got out of bed, but but where am I going with all this?
So
Reining me
basically,
back in.
there was one of the ladies
Oh yeah.
that got you in the forefront. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, so what happened is I got thrown off YouTube. This is things are a bit out of sequence, but in this time space, my friend Paul, who taught me a lot, and vice versa, we learned a lot from each other in the Patriot movement, and he was the bravest guy I've ever met, outside of the president now, of course. But he when I got thrown off of YouTube and didn't know what I was going to do, during this period of time, he had introduced me to Rebecca. Rebecca Dunn is her name. I was never able to say this, but I can now because she got on the stage at what our good friend Derek Johnson would call the memorial with no casket. And that's a different subject for a different day, the Charlie Kirk thing. And she was one of the speakers. I watched it from Thailand. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just fast forwarded to who was of interest to me. I said, I couldn't believe it. There's Rebecca Dunn. And she told the story at the memorial that young Charlie Kirk came to me one day in my home in Tampa and and pitched me for $25,000 for his idea. And she told us at the memorial. I'm sure folks who saw it remember this.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so, long story short, she went on to say at the memorial, or whatever that event was, and she said, I said to Charlie, you go out and show me you can get some interest in this idea you have, raise some money, come back to me. And he did the next day, I think she said. And so she got him started. And then she went on, as she stated at the memorial, to fund him to the tunes of millions and millions of dollars. It was Rebecca Dunn that did the same for me, but much smaller change. So
Wow.
yeah, so
Wow.
Left Without My Show, Making Sense of the Madness was the name of the show on YouTube. That show lives today with Jason Burmis. I gave him the show. He still does it. Of course, it's all about him now. But the bottom line is, at that time, uh, I met Rebecca, did the same thing Charlie did. But I didn't walk away with, well, I actually got more than Charlie, a lot more. God rest his soul in Valhalla, wink, wink.
And
But
Valhalla,
yeah,
yes,
but
for
I
another
got some
time,
money.
right?
I got some money from the beautiful, wonderful, gracious, spiritually grounded, incredible human being, Rebecca Dunn. Uh, I didn't get what I asked for, but I got some, she called chump change. I don't need to go through my board for. This is a foundation that doles money out to certain causes and so forth. And I was able to do it. And I burned through that money in 3 months, but I formed American Media Periscope. And I called all my friends, Sean Morgan and a whole bunch of guys, Scott Bennett, rest in peace. But all the podcasters that were thrown off, I said, hey, I'm starting a news network. This is my counterpunch and my double down. I said, I'm not going anywhere and I don't need YouTube. So we figured it out and we launched American Media Periscope, and it lasted for 3 years. We had 36 people aboard at one point. And the only reason that went away, it was never on my bucket list to like build something to sell it. It becomes a business when you have 30 some odd people and you're a broadcasting network and you're sending people away to cover events. It became a structured entity, but all mission focused. And we were looking like a Newsmax, looking like an OAN, looking like a Fox News because of our technology and our delivery, but we weren't talking like them. We were putting out the truth. And
Yeah.
so what happened is I did not take the vax. In fact, I brought my good friend first, Patriot partner second, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny,
Yeah.
because she's from Ohio, and I was in Ohio when I wrote the book Trump and the Resurrection. She actually finished off and fixed my concussion. That's how I met her. I'm searching for a doctor in Ohio because I'm still not stable, and her name shows up, and I had never heard of her. I'm like, well, let's go to see her. She's 30 minutes from where I was living. And then I find out who she is, and she finds out who I am in terms of what we knew about the world. We became really good friends, just as friends. We used to go to dinner every weekend, and talk deep state till the cows came home. And so anyway, what happens is, forgot where I was going with all that. Oh yeah, American Media Periscope, right? So I brought her on as soon as COVID released. I mean, I don't want to sound, I'll just say it. You can judge me as you choose. I knew it was BS from the second it happened. And so weren't afraid to report on it. We was me and James Grunvik, who was my co-host at the time,
Yeah.
introduced to me by Sherry, and we covered it. We brought everyone: Mickey Willis, Dr. Mike Mikovits, Carrie Marday, Northrop, all of them. I met them all, interviewed them all, and why I invoke that is for this reason. Why did I sell American Media Periscope? I didn't want to. I had built a pretty strong organization that
Mhm.
had no debt, had reserves, met its mark. We had 10 million views collectively in our first 2 months when we launched. And the reason for that, as I look at it now, is because everyone was forced to stay at home with their masks. And what were they doing? Googling. And what were they Googling? COVID. And who showed up? Me, because I didn't have to stay at home. I was essential. I had my media press badge because I used to drive to a studio and do the shows. So everyone found us, and that was just kind of nice. But what happened is I did not take the vax, of course. And for those that did, I understand the circumstances, and God be with you. But I didn't. But I got COVID. I actually had COVID before Trump introduced it to the world. I was deathly ill, and I never went to a doctor. I didn't know what it was. And then I thought I was recovering because my immune system put it at bay, but I didn't, and I burned myself out, and I was not doing well. So I had to stop being a show host. Meanwhile, I built other shows at AMP, and my team said, you got to stop. You go get better. So I did. And I mean, I ran American Media Periscope, and I did the public speaking when I was able to, but I almost left this body, thanks to Dr. Sherry, also because I was a recipient of the shedding. So I
Wow.
had that on top of long
Mm,
COVID, and I was not well. I don't want to get into all those things. It's so far behind me. But the good news is, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, you couldn't get ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine very easily at those days. They prevented you from getting it. She got it for me, and that put things at bay. But then the shedding kicked in hard,
mm,
and I sort of relapsed on it. But anyway, long story short, doctors Mark and Michelle Sherwood, namely Mark, I worked with, uh, Sherry first, Sherwood second, and Wano Salmon, who introduced me to a woman whose name cannot be revealed, that I
yes.
went to see. I'm sure you know of her.
Yes.
I went there many times, two
Mm,
locations in both states, with the sophisticated diagnostics and treatment. And between that woman, Mark Sherwood, and Sherry Tenpenny, my
wow.
blood, which was I was about to be a sudden death guy based on all the blood reports and all the symptoms. I had the graphene oxide and the spike proteins on the brainstem, and my arteries were like someone who was 280 years old. I mean, I was a mess. And lo and behold, and I was, by the way, every one of those Clay Clark speeches that I did, I
Hmm.
was very ill, and I just kept it at
Wow.
bay for my 15 minutes of fame. And
Wow.
but
You.
long story short, actually, long story to finish, I got better. But before I got better, I was not doing well. And while I built a good foundation, American Media Periscope, a respected news network that was cutting edge, thanks to all the people that were with me, General Flynn recognized it. I saw General Flynn every month at the Reawaken tours, and
Mm,
he had an interest in it, and so he served on a board of directors that acquired it, and said, we'll take it from here. Unfortunately, it didn't work out exactly the way all of us had anticipated, but so AMP was transitioned. I thought I was sailing into the sunset. I came back to Thailand now to retire into God's heavens, and then all of a sudden, all the treatments and all the things I had been doing started to work, and I got better. I have a clean bill of health. Uh, about 2 years ago, I formed JMC Broadcasting. Really, actually, only officially about 8 months ago. I
wow.
just Juan said, John, keep your name out there, hang your shingle out there, don't go anywhere. So I did a monthly show for a while, but I'm not a dabbler or a dilettante.
Mm,
I'm all in or I'm not in at all. And because my health was restored, here we are. We had 10 million last 4 months in a row, 10 million collective views for the nine total shows that I host. And I got a lean and mean team of 8. And I'm beyond thrilled to be back in the game, especially where we are right now. And I have a
whew,
very specific mission that I do with the network. But there's the long story. I didn't think we'd get into this, but you cracked it open. I'm
good.
always a host where I never speak other than ask a question. So I'm in a different place right now.
Absolutely. And I remember AMP quite well. I've had James Gravick on, as well as Carrie Madej and a lot of others, and
Mhm.
it was top notch. That's for sure. So I
Thank
thank
you.
you for just sharing that. And you do have a mission. You have a mission to bring forth the truth and set the people free of what's really going on. And I appreciate that, John. Absolutely. Before the broadcast too, we kind of talked about podcasters today. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them that started off very well. I don't know if it was because they were building their network. I'm not sure, but a lot of them are coming against what President Trump is doing right now. Do they not understand that this is a military operation? What do you say about that? And I know you shared something about Dan Scavino sharing something too.
I just queued that up. I'm going to read that in a moment, but
Okay.
now we're getting into things I'd rather talk about, and that's the issues for the human race versus John Chambers and his little speck of dust here. But I'll
No,
tell you what, on the podcaster thing, we were, yourself, you've been around in this a long time. We were the trailblazers. We were the guys that, and many others, I can drop all the names. We know who they are. Some are gone, like Robert David Steele. Not that he was a podcaster. He was a high level intel guy. I met him, in fact, 2 weeks before he left us. We had an email exchange. I told him, go back home. It was a whole long story there. But anyway, Dan Scavino, a couple of 3 days ago, I'll read it to your audience. Published this on X. I'll read it verbatim. There are many dedicated people in government who could leave tomorrow and earn tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month as so-called influencers, quote unquote, on social media. But they chose to serve the American people instead. All the while, the so-called influencers talk shit all day long and get paid big money. Yes, he said that word. Get paid big money for clicks and impressions. And he's got two eyes and he says, "We see you."
Mm.
Now, I find that fascinating. And I knew it was coming, thanks to Dr. Halper Hayes discussions, Dr. Jan Halper Hayes
Yeah.
discussions on and off air, Dr. PhD, and committee in the Department of Defense, Department of War now, and 107, private and public discussions. I knew this day was coming, and here it is. One more thing, and then perhaps we can chat about it. I won't read all of this because it's too long, but I'll give your audience the flavor. I'm sure most of your viewers have seen this. The day after, as I recall, Dan Scavino published that. Our Commander in Chief and President Donald J. Trump published this on Truth Social the day after. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact, sorry, it's very small, pardon me, I'm not, no eye contact, that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have nuclear weapons. So he goes into long read. He goes into all these issues about the decisions the president makes and how they're against it. And then, of course, he's having fun with the low IQ statements and Marjorie Trader Brown and doing the Trumpisms that I love. People used to hate the way he tweeted. Free entertainment, man. I loved it, and still do. And so he's
There's
a
always
force of nature.
that's
Yeah,
for sure.
sometimes people say, how would you describe Trump in one word? And the word that comes to my mind is phenomenon. This is a phenomenon, this
Mm.
individual. But anyway, back to the podcaster thing. Here's how I look at it. And I know a lot of the podcasters, not the hundreds, if not thousands of new people that are just showing up all over the place. I know they're my friends. David Rodriguez, Scott McKay, Michael Jaco. I've met them all. I've interviewed them all. They've interviewed me, most of them. Jaco's part of my military panel every month. And then there's people that have come and gone. And then there's a lot of new people. And then you've got the top shelf. It's almost like calling the elite, the top shelf, like Tucker, Megyn, Candace, and Alex. So it's interesting. I know people don't like this term, but I do. It's just words and they mean something. There is a collective consciousness
Yeah.
that's going on. And when you clean your own space out, you get there. And you operate in a space that's above a lot of other things, and I'm recognizing that. And so it's interesting because Dan publishes that piece.
Hmm.
I published the same time before Dan published that. I think same period of time on my
Oh,
Facebook page. I put the exact same thing Trump said. I put Tucker Carlson. I put AJ, Tucker, Megyn, Candace. I was stirring a conversation on social media. And I said, psyop players, in other words,
yeah.
with us playing a role,
Yeah.
enemies, or clueless. And hundreds of people start weighing in, and then Dan comes out, and then the president comes out with this. I'm like, wow, this is great. So people are, I mean, I'll tell you what. I interviewed Ricardo Bossi, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo Bossi, international treasure, also often spoken of as the 107 of Australia. Good man, special operations, 24 years in the
Mm.
Australian military. With a name like Ricardo Bossi, he was born and raised as a child in Italy. Parents came over from the war. In fact, his father served in that war, and so he grew up basically in Australia. Incredible history, special ops, intel, and combat. Retired lieutenant colonel, and I do a broadcast with him every other Monday called BOC Briefs, and he sits on my Global Defense War Monthly Military Panel, second year now. I interviewed him Saturday. We published it, well, let's see, it's Monday, your Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I asked him the same questions everyone's asking me. What do we think about Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex
Right.
Jones, and probably a much longer list.
Sure.
And he and I were pretty much on the same page. And I'll leave it this way. Clueless, and this is my opinions. Clueless, probably not.
Right.
Okay. They got more. I don't have a research team. You're looking at the research team and the show host and the guy
Right.
who cleans the toilets. I'm that guy. I got a good team of
All the
people, but I don't have the support they have. So they're not clueless. Okay. Are they enemies? Possibly. You
Mm,
want my opinion? I don't mind saying this stuff. I used to shy away from saying these things, but the president's making it easy for us now. How many times to your audience I speak have you heard the president say these two words? Central casting. Oh, that's central casting. Central, pointing to people, pointing to instance, pointing to credits, typing it in posts. Central casting, central casting, central casting. So I'm on safe territory to say what I'm about to say.
exactly.
That doesn't look like Alex Jones to me. I'll
No,
just
no,
leave it
it
at that.
doesn't. Well, a lot of them. Okay. If
Yeah,
you look back, I mean, I'll even just throw Erica Kirk out there. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't look like what they look like. Yeah, 2, 3 years ago. Okay.
correct.
So,
PSYOP. So to answer my own question that I asked my viewers, uh, PSYOP players,
mhm,
enemy or clueless. And again, Ricardo Bossi weighed in on this, and to him, it's all hilarious because he understands psyops and intel and how things are played. The military, they're running games around us 24/7 all over the world forever. Thank goodness we have a global defense war alliance of by some estimates, over 40 nations that have been cleaning out the tunnels and doing all this work for decades, for 10 years, with the president, the Supreme Commander in Chief, Donald J. Trump. So having said that, I don't mind saying this stuff anymore. Most of the conspiracy theories that I spoke about in the AMP days that we were laughed at and thrown under the bus at and ridiculed, and lost all our friends and families and yak, 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 and this, that, and the other thing. Most of those conspiracy theories proved to be the conspiracy facts and realities of today. So I have no problem saying this. This side, to me, they're not clueless. They understand stuff.
oh,
Um,
absolutely.
it's a combination thereof, and I don't have an answer. Uh, I think perhaps we'll all find out at some point. Some things in this game we've been involved in, this war, this psyop war, this information war, some things we will find out about, and some things we simply won't. And that's also by plan design. But in my opinion, that's not Alex Jones. Just think those four names. Uh, there's speculation about Megan and all that, but I would
Mm,
just say it's psyop. And now, PSYOP, are they our friends playing it, taking the arrows now to
right.
raise narratives?
Mhm,
Possibly. Or are they enemies?
right.
And we're using their body, like Alex Jones, to
Mhm,
get points across. Look, folks, the key thing is this. I look at this stuff, I laugh. But the problem with our movement, and I don't mind saying this, that's what Dan
mhm.
Scavino's saying with the podcasters. That's a whole different discussion. These are the top shelf ones. You've got all the guys in our space. I I have intel on some of them that I got from people that have intel who aren't our friends that are out there. They're going to take them all down. And those are the ones that are having their algorithms messed around with right now, by the way. And the rest of us don't. But look, it's a big subject and it's an important subject. And I'm glad Dan and the president are bringing that to the surface now. And it's no surprise to me because Dr. Jan Halper Hayes is on the record. I interviewed her, this year and last year.
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
she's talked about one of the functions of the committees and the task force in the Department of War that she's in was to analyze all of us from the
Mm,
top on down. Who's who, what's what, where's dirty money coming from, who's disinformation, who's causing trouble, who's turning against the commander in chief at a time of war,
come on.
the
Mhm,
names, right? And on and so on. So look, folks, all I have to say is this. Anytime, because we're fighting within our own movement. They've splintered this. And I think that's actually part of the plan as well. We're finding
right.
out who's who, who's what, who's
Exactly.
loyal, who isn't.
Yeah.
and so forth. So all of these things are of that nature. This recent event with the Pope and the picture of Trump. Everything is precision military. These
Mhm.
aren't mistakes.
Right.
The level of work that's been done in these last 10
Mm.
years is mind boggling. And folks,
Oh my
we are
gosh.
almost at the finish line
Come on
of the
now.
danger. We're
Yes.
not there yet. Juan O'Savin will tell you, for those that respect Juan, our near death experience hasn't happened yet. Juan also says, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, with all we've endured and all we've been through in this war, he said, uh, the economic aspect, the financial, will be the worst, and it's coming.
Mm.
And he speaks in further detail about municipal bonds and the cities and what's going to happen and how systemic that'll be. And for those that say, "Well, who's Juan and why does he have any credentials?" Excuse me. When he was serving this nation during the time of Ronald Reagan, he was one of the 5 people that helped bring down the Russian ruble, which led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. He knows a
Right.
few things, and he
Yeah.
knows a few of the big players. So, but anyway,
It's amazing. I love how the Lord has placed these wonderful men and women of God in our path to at this special time, because people are now really starting to wake up. They're asking questions. You've been
mhm,
bringing a lot of truth to the forefront. They're getting it. They're researching, which is awesome. The truth will set the people free. And I'm just excited about what you've been bringing to the forefront. And yes, we love Wano Saban. Just had him on last week, and
mhm,
he brings forth truth. I wanted to ask you though, you know, when we talk about Donald J. Trump, our president and chief and commander, we look at what he's preparing for too in regards to the 250th anniversary, and then we listen to Will Barney, who's very educated in that financial realm as you were and are. So, do you believe, John, that
mhm.
will start to smooth out as soon as we get to that time frame of July 4th? Do you think a lot of
It-
things, will be exposed and will be stepping into that part of freedom and what has truly been set for we the people?
I think that's among the top most important questions to be asking. So, let's take it on. First, I would pedal
All
back.
right.
Will Barney, love Will Barney. I have him on every other week. I have a dedicated live show, Global Financial Reset. That man is a powerhouse of information and a good man, a great resource for all of us. Um, here's my commentary. And of course, we know the two trigger dates, May 17th and July 4th, 49 days of prayer.
Yeah.
That'll tilt the scales just when it's needed. But this period of time between right now and July 4th, in my opinion, I don't want
Mhm.
people to think I think I know everything. Well, we analyze information. I think of George Carlin. He used to say, "Garbage in, garbage out." Right. So you'll be careful. Back to the podcast, the narrative for me. Be careful who you follow, folks. Okay.
Come on now.
Yeah, because that's your influence, and even the ones that are good, like Francine and others, even the ones that are good that you follow, um, something doesn't sit right, go down the rabbit hole for yourself. At the end of
That's
the day, you got to seek your own counsel. You got to
yeah.
make your own decision,
Mm.
and of course, have faith for those of faith. But the bottom line is, to answer your question specifically, I interview every month 2 different military panels. So I'm going to give you my answer based on no garbage in. Right, my intake has been pretty high quality. Ricardo Bosi, Michael Jaco, Derek Johnson, right? Retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, Delta
Mm.
Forces Lieutenant Colonel Chuck Sellers. That's one panel, and then we have a few captain. People don't usually call him captain. 7 years in the Air Force, captain in combat as well, and security clearance. Captain Rob Cunningham, another absolute gift to all of us right now.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Whew. So I interview these people for 2 years now. On my other broadcast, my other military panel, it's a monthly. It's Brigadier General Blaine Holt,
Mm.
Juan's Chief of Staff, retired Lieutenant Colonel Matt Mack, who also oversaw the development of what's about to be released, the media center from Gitmo for us to be reporting from.
Mm.
Matt Meck also, by the way, I think was part of some of the tribunals for the 9/11 combatants back in 2004, as he stated. But that panel is retired Brigadier General Blaine Holt, retired Lieutenant Colonel of the Marines Matt Meck, who happens to be Juan's chief of staff, Captain Pete Matasu, not a popular name in the circuit. What a powerhouse, what a patriot, what a knowledgeable guy. And then we have I call it the fifth Beatle. We have a revolving seat that we fill each month to bring new military in to weigh in. So, and Juan O'Savin's on that because he's the intelligence side, military and intelligence people I interview, and he's on the Eyes on Gitmo panel. So from all these guys that I get to talk with every month on air and get to talk with off air occasionally, plus all the other contributors that I have, from that viewpoint and processing it on my own, I now finally answer your question. We are in the danger zone, and we've been warned by these people. That's why there's 1 million National Guard, Army Reserves, and other armed forces already in position in every state. This is reported by the general, okay? In every state, ready to take care of business, protecting the homeland. Number one priority, right? What does that tell you? As Sheriff Mack will tell you, all those that the auto pen fake Biden 4-year imposter presidency, because Joe Biden was executed before that whole thing took place.
He
I
was
don't mind
shot.
saying that.
Yep. Trump would
Well,
always say, yeah, he shot, I mean, come on.
it was a military tribunal. Derek
Mhm.
Johnson will walk you through the type of cannon thing he had at his burial.
Yes.
There's signatures. We get into all that because I know he opened up a can of worms saying that. I don't care anymore. Everyone
No,
will know soon.
that's
So,
right.
so to answer your question, we are at the point, right? During the auto pen presidency, they brought in 20, 30 million, pick your number, of people. Many of these people are armed, they're financed, they're ready to go. We see them all of a sudden, 1 million people come out for the King's March. Well, later there's going to be elements of terror cells and different things, sleeper cells that will be deployed. Sheriff Mack will tell you they're here, they're ready to go, they're
Yes.
thoroughly trained, and they're not here to play checkers and chess. And that's why we have 1 million. So I say all that because it comes from highly credentialed people that are in the know. Well, what does
Yes.
that tell you? That tells you we got to, and Juan tells you straight up, we haven't had our near-death experience yet. And then he
Right.
spoke about the economy being, and he also said 60 to 80% worse than the collapse that we had in 2008 and 9, which
Mhm.
disrupted the whole world, as you know,
Abs-
because that was done by design to shift money around and do all that stuff. But so, folks, to answer your question, we're in trouble in
Yeah.
terms of we're not out of the danger zone yet, not just economically, but in every aspect. And the Brigadier General will tell you, while the military is going to take care of things, what are we talking about things? Well, we've explored that with these military experts, and they have concerns about the sleeper cells, blowing up buildings and killing people like they've done in Portland and Minnesota and all these places over the years. The
Yeah.
BLMs, forget, Antifas and all that. But
Oh,
more things they're concerned about: bridge damage, water dams, thoroughfares that are important to transport goods. Something worse, perhaps, right? The N word, right? So, nuclear, where we're, so there's not anything's on the table. But I know this, and I hate to say this, but because we don't want to rest on our laurels, but our victory is assured.
yes.
I know you're in the spiritual, religious space, and I don't mind saying this. This is God ordained. I hate to
Yes, it
use all the
is.
sound bites, but God always wins.
Oh,
We're on
you
God's
speak.
side. He chose Trump. We put him in office 3 times. Nothing is going to stop what's coming.
Come on.
But
That's
we have to be careful between now and July 4th. I think the ship hits the fan between now and July 4th.
Mhm.
Some pretty disruptive things are going to occur, but we'll get it handled, and that leads to the EBS or EAS. That's often a
Right.
discussion, and this is where the podcasters have created a mess. That's
Oh
part of
my
what
God.
they're talking about. How many
Sure.
years have they been saying, "Oh, next Thursday at 3:30, the oh, the
Right.
EBS was just launched." I go on site, I say, "Was it really? What
Right.
world are you in?" Okay.
Right.
Do I
Crying
believe it
wolf.
will? Yeah,
What's that child thing? They're crying wolf, crying wolf, and then it
sure.
actually happens, and so I mean that's what you're right. That's exactly where we're at. They've been saying it over and over and over again.
So long
You
story short, we're going to have disruptions between
know?
now and July 4th. We've been told that by people that know a lot more than I do, and perhaps speculating than most of our audiences know. These are people that have been to the rodeo a few times. These are
Right.
people that still have some clearance, some of them active, and they know stuff, and they're warning us. So pray, plan, and prepare. Not fear. Forget about that nonsense. We've already been through hell. Pray, plan, and prepare. Food,
That's
water, protection, know your neighbors, your sheriff, blah, 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 blah. I got a site called wealthcoachuniversity.com. There's 10
mm,
free modules there that people can go view on various topics. One is preparedness, one is faith, one is crypto, one is understanding precious metals, one is how to get out of the system. These are proactive
this is good.
things. You see, one of the things that Scavino, and I shouldn't say that because he didn't say it directly, but one of the issues of concerns that are out there
Mhm.
are the fear porn people putting all this every day. This is hey, hey. If they don't have a solution proposed to
Come on.
stabilize the fear they just created,
That's
I'm
right.
changing the channel. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're scared to death, it's
Right.
what you're bringing in. If you follow the right people, and then do your own homework, you too will be grounded through an
Yeah.
extraordinarily difficult transition for everyone on this planet. But I know
That's
we win. And I think July 4th, hey, look, the Treasury Department just published a press release a week ago. I'm sure you know about, I'm sure your audience does. For the first time ever, a sitting president will have his name on every US bill, every dollar.
how
All
awesome
right.
is that?
And that's Donald Trump and of course
Yeah.
Scott Bessent. So, but you think that's a coincidence that's happening in June and July? Liberation Day, July
Yeah.
4th, 250th anniversary. Come on, guys. It's all coming. You can kiss the Federal Reserve goodbye. You can kiss the IRS goodbye. You will
Come
have
on.
restored sound money. You will have the repatriation of wealth come back to us. And I'm
Yeah.
sprinkling out a whole lot of big things that we could
Yes.
do a 3-hour program on any one of them. And I can fill in a lot of the blanks.
Yes, you
But
can.
that's what's coming, folks. And it's
Mm.
glorious and it's God ordained. And we're going to be sovereign souls
Yes.
as
Oh
we
my
were intended to be.
Yes, absolutely. Being as heirs of Christ Jesus, this is what he intended all along. And now it's showtime. It is definite showtime. And God is going to show who he is and the power that he has. So I get fired up when you say that, John, because it is so true. And a lot of people look at this and they say, okay, yeah, I've heard about the currency. I heard about Nasara and, oh, I don't have currency or oh, I don't own a home, so I'm not going to be blessed. But God,
No, no,
God
no, no.
has a
Mhm.
plan, guys. Every single person is going to benefit every single person. So just know
Absolutely.
no one's going to be left behind, right, my brother?
Absolutely. Look, for those, I address this too, for people that follow you or me, and they say, well, that's great. Great guest. Will Barney was fantastic, but I don't have any money. What about me? You know what? You don't have any money in part by design. Okay. Number one. Number two, to your point, um, we're talking about all the birth certificate trading, the
Right.
bond,
Mm-hmm.
all fraud done
Oh,
against us. They've calculated how much, based on age brackets and other criteria, you're
millions.
going to get paid. Yes,
Millions.
millions. The older
Yeah.
you are, the more you get. So
Yes.
those that say I don't have two nickels to rub together, I've been there. I've bounced off of
Yes.
below zero several times in my life. And
Yeah.
I've been abundant where I've donated hundreds of thousands to people that need it. But so I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. My father died when I was 14. I helped raise my four sisters. We were on welfare for 6 months. I didn't go to one semester of college. Okay, so I've been there. Those that say, "Well, I have nothing to do with this," you have everything to do with it because there won't be the property tax will be gone, income
Mm-hmm.
tax will be gone as we know it.
Yes.
So many other things that'll just give you abundance. Oh, and that wealth that comes back to you. And there's a lot more to talk about because it opens up a whole bunch of can of worms we don't have time to get into right
I
now. But
know.
everyone will benefit.
Yes.
Every good human will benefit.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so looking forward to this. So, of course, like you said, just be aware of your surroundings, make sure you have the food and preparation. Head on over to the site, and I'll have John's information below too, so that you can just click on that. Well, he has it right up there too, jmcbroadcasting.com, and you can get all the resources. But I tell you, I hope you have still a little bit more time. I had some questions in my mind that I wanted to kind of, go through. But
I promise to be brief. Go ahead, shoot.
no worries. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you know, uh, of course, we have the critics out there who are so loud about President Trump, lacking a plan for the Strait of Hormuz, actually. But now things are a little bit quiet on their side, John, because we have like tankers like last time I saw it, it was like, I think 135 or something coming our way, to get oil and stuff. So, I mean, this is like the strategy, the five step chess or however you call that,
5D chess. Yep.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the man is brilliant. And I know he's hearing from God. I mean, the growth that I've seen and everything else. I mean, this is amazing.
All the people that waffle, I call them MAGA wafflers. All the MAGA wafflers
Right.
always end up eating crow. Case in point, I'll be brief. Case in
Okay.
point,
Okay.
Epstein. Back,
Oh,
rewind a few months. Epstein. Trump's in the Elon Musk drops Trump's in the Epstein files.
right.
And he just lets it sit there. Trump says, "Oh, MAGA, what's wrong with you people? It's a psyop. The Democrats are running on you. You're still talking about Epstein's not important." And everyone's furious. Not important.
Right.
I I am being entertained by all this, waiting for the big day. Everyone else is screaming at each other. Oh, Trump this, Trump that, Trump this. He's in the files. Fake pictures show up. All this noise. Well,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
let's come fast forward.
Okay.
Trump was in the files. He was in the files because he's the FBI informant that got
That's right.
Epstein arrested.
Hmm.
And threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. He's also, under his presidency, the president who Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested. So it's a psyop. They're playing with you guys, and they're also finding out who's weak. And then
Right.
you eat crow later because you find out he has nothing to do with those atrocities at Epstein Island. And it's the same thing with the Straits of Hormuz, or I'm gonna wipe an entire civilization away. You gotta be kidding me. A man who just stopped 8 wars is gonna go kill all these people?
Right.
No, these are
Right.
all psyops, folks. Take a back seat. Let
Right.
it play out. I
Come
know
on.
you'll throw darts at me. Oh, eat the popcorn, enjoy the show. It's a bad thing to say and do. There's some merit to that, but there's also merit to being prepared and planning and praying. It's a little bit of everything. But if you are still falling, listen, I said I'd be brief, and I'm not. I'll summarize it with this. This is a sophisticated, algorithmed AI war room, war game psyop.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
And
Hmm.
it's military precision. It's not a mistake that image came out where Trump looks like Christ and all the noise is going. There's a reason for all of that. Now we're exposing what? The Pope.
That's
Okay,
right.
because he's not with you. He's not godly. You know that. Neither was the other ones. So,
Exactly.
so I can go on and on. But people need to, the MAGA wafflers, we know who you are, and we still love you. But, you know, stop it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Well, and two, just as of late, there's a lot of talk that Congress may be cleaning house, and we're seeing the cleaning house with, Seawall and with the speculation around multiple members potentially being removed. Um, and then,
I'll tell you what. Here's what's
okay,
going to happen. Julian Assange told us this years ago. I'll paraphrase him, but it's not just Julian Assange. It's these military and intelligence experts I speak to every day, and my own analysis. I'm pretty good at reading the Trump comms. They're comms. People look at them and they get all crazy. No, they're Trump comms. If you understand how to read them, most of Congress will be gone when all is said and done. In
I
my opinion, the Democrat and Republican Party system itself isn't going to be here in 3 or 4 years. And if it is, it isn't going to look anything like it looks today. And
agree.
I can go on and on into other things. That doesn't mean we're not a constitutional republic. It means we've restored the Constitution. Everybody knows that Washington, D.C. wasn't a state. Everybody knows that that
Right.
was the axis of evil. Vatican, London,
On.
and DC. DC was your military, Vatican was your brainwashing, and London was your money. And why we're in Iran, we could talk about that for hours, and why we're doing what we're doing with the Straits and all that. People
Right.
need to take a back
So
seat, and they will find out later. This is how you save America, and this is how you put humanity back on a course correction. Canada comes in, you got Greenland, we've got Venezuela, you've got Cuba soon. It's already, my military guys, for all intents and purposes, say it's already a territory of the United States. We're changing everything. The fake world we've been in, the control,
oh,
trap, evil, Rothschild, Rockefeller, et cetera, matrix. That's why the Federal Reserve is going away. I mean, people just need to connect the dots. Don't get
yeah.
all freaked out about things that don't make sense. They don't make sense because they're accomplishing something else. They're exposing something else. Now everyone's going to look at the Pope. Oh, good. Go have a look.
That's right. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I'm so glad that you brought that up because when President Trump brings something to the forefront, like the Pope, everyone starts to do the research. And tell me, and I am going to go open up the Pandora's box in this, John. When President Trump mentioned to Erica Trump about about coming against people. I hope they're not
Erica
going to.
Kirk, Erica Kirk, or
Erica
Erica
Kirk,
Trump?
yes, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Erica,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I think that was the calm too to really look into that. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but
Look, I watched it from Thailand. I met Cash Patel many times. I'm not trying to say I have inside information. Let me make it clear. I have none.
right,
Okay. I met Cash at the Clay tours. We interviewed him at American Media Periscope. Um, I think we know he's been in Trump's inner circle in a variety of official capacities for years. I
yes,
stand with Cash Patel. Now, Cash Patel, we watched the Charlie Kirk thing, comes full circle to Erica in a moment. While I'm watching this, he has the official briefing. Like 3 days later, we got our man. It's like Oswald on the front cover of the New York Times with the gun. We got our man. Here's the rifle. Uh, they had the official briefing. It was the governor, I think, of Utah, and the sheriff of Utah, that county or whatever it was, and Cash Patel. And they did their official presser because you got to have the narrative. They put the narrative out there. And then what did Cash Patel say? And you already know what I'm going to say. He said, "We got the watch now, Charlie, and we'll see you over at Valhalla." And I went, "What the hell is that?" Then I found a clip from Juan. Of course, I called Juan, but I found a video clip of Juan saying, "Valhalla is a place," he said, "where we basically send high level people. It's an
right,
advanced witness protection program in the intelligence community." Now, Valhalla is also a heaven, place in heaven for the Vikings that died more. And I understand that.
right.
And that's the reason why Cash Patel was able to say it, because it's got two sides to it. But he was talking, these are tips, guys. These are hat tips. These are
Yes, yes,
comms.
yes, that's right.
Erica Kirk, phew, that whole
Right.
thing is a psyop. I don't think Charlie Kirk is dead.
Hmm.
I don't think what we saw ever happened the way it was shown to us. That's an easy one. Derek Johnson and I did a 2-hour story on it once.
Yes,
I mean, it's a
absolutely.
joke.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
psyop, folks. It'll all make sense in the end. Here's
it
this
will.
quote: "E- Everything will be okay in the end. If
Yes,
it's
it
not
will.
okay, it's not the end. So hang
Right.
in there and don't give up. We
Yeah.
got it. God, here's the command.
Yeah.
God, white hats, Trump, military, and we the people. And together, we're saving America,
That's
and we're
right.
redirecting humanity on a course correction. Med beds will heal us. Money, no more living in a world of scarcity, rather abundance as our creator intended. This quantum financial system has a lot more to do with transporting money real quick and getting rid of the central bank system.
Yeah.
We don't have time to get into that. It's going to force a moral world, because those that traffic kids and eat them, those that run guns and fentanyl and all the horrible things. What do you think Trump's doing in Venezuela, and the largest state sponsor of terror that gets their money from London, that's taken care of by Israel? And Israel's the other elephant in the room. So,
Right.
and that's what's being exposed through this operation. It's actually Israel that's getting exposed in this operation. It's a no-brainer that Iran wants death to America. It's a no-brainer that Iran controls oil. It's a no-brainer that Iran's women can't live in freedom. It's a no-brainer they just killed 40,000 people peacefully protesting. Okay, that's easy stuff. This is
Mm.
exposing Israel and London
Oh yeah, that's huge. I mean, so many
and
people.
redirecting energy. We
Right.
Now they buy oil from us.
Right.
I'm telling you, there's so much to unpack here.
Oh my
It's
God.
all good news. We just
It
got to
is.
get through. No pain, no gain. We got to get through this, and there's some uncomfortable surprises coming our way. That's why I always tell people, pray,
Mhm.
plan, and prepare. And we go into detail on that module I refer to, but
Yeah.
we'll get through it. And I do believe, in my humble opinion, July 4th marks in just my opinion, the official launching of the golden age.
Okay,
You got a new
golden
current.
dawn.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? What does that look like?
I, people are going to say, Chambers needs to stop drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever they want to say. Listen, I've been through it all. I don't care. Okay, so here we go. The golden age to me, and has a lot of different connotations, a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. So again, that's a great question. Here's what it means to me,
Okay.
especially when you look at the events that have unfolded in these last 10 years in this precise
Mm.
military operation. And by the way, a lot of it has already happened. By the way, some of it's never really happened. And all that is true too. But to answer your question, the golden age to me means not starting on July 4th, you're going to have all these things. It's the dawning of the golden age.
Mm.
We come into these things in due time. A world without war. That's what the Board of Peace, in my opinion, in part is about. You're neutering the WEF, you've neutered NATO, you're neutering the United Nations. I'd love to see them get evicted from New York, and they will be eventually, and turn that into a Trump Tower just for fun. But I'll tell you what, the Board of Peace, you've got, by some estimates, 60 or 80 countries that came aboard. They had to put $1 billion in the kitty, as I understand it. So,
Mhm.
they put their money where their mouth is. You
Sure.
fast forward a little bit in the golden age, it's going to be profitable and popular to
I
make
agree.
sure there isn't war
Right.
versus what it's been the opposite all these
Mm.
years. That's
Oh
what
yeah.
that's all about. So the golden age to me is a world without war.
Mhm.
Sure, there'll be a few things and then they get stifled out real quick. I said it's a process. It's an ing. It's an ongoing. Okay, but the golden age to me, to answer it in a half a dozen bullets: a world without war, no scarcity of anything that's needed, clean air, clean food. It's better health, money. People don't listen. You think when Musk, and by the way, Musk himself, I don't mind saying this. I don't care if some of your audience chats Wayne says this guy's nuts. It's okay. You'll find out. Elon Musk drops a statement that says soon you won't have to work anymore. What? Okay, what do you think? What do you think? He's just throwing that out there for no reason, and then he followed up with so you won't have any debt and soon you won't have to work. Well, that's a whole conversation to have, because it opens up a lot of important questions that I know people are going to ask. So we don't have the time to get to it. But the golden age to me is prosperity, health, abundance, not scarcity, a world without war, um, a renaissance on earth. And when you think about the freeing of the soul, the spirit, we're all
Mm.
God's children, being what we were intended to be. We've been nothing but
Oh.
completely controlled slaves from
Yeah.
every which way to Sunday, from the
Yeah.
cradle to the
Yeah.
grave. When you
That's
take that off, you watch the world we're going to create. And I think it's going to be phenomenal. And you know what? I don't mind saying, years ago,
Mhm.
when I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because there was none that I could see, I said, I'm glad I don't have children. I'm glad I'm older, because I don't want to stick around much longer. Now, I'm not suicidal. Let's be very clear about that. But where the world was heading, the world was already in, I hated. The world we're heading into was even worse. So I'd be happy to go. I'd be happy to shuffle off the planet. Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm 67. We got med beds coming to help us live longer. And
Yeah.
we're entering a world, and you've been a part of it. Your
Hmm.
audience that is active has been a part of it. I have been a part of it. I say to people, when your children and grandchildren ask you, what were you doing when the global governance was being thrust down the throat of America and the world? What will your answer be? Freedom, it's up to us, as General Flynn would say. Local action, national impact. You've got to do something. I can at least say on my tombstone, I did these things during this unbelievable time in history. I'm very happy to be alive right now and hope I can be healthy and around for another 20 or 30 years.
Yes, I agree. I'm with you. Well, the Bible talks about 120 years, and that's what I'm pushing for. That's for sure, because we are in exciting times, John. God chose us to be a part of this right now.
Yes.
Chose everybody listening right now to be a part of this glorious time. Oh my gosh. So lastly, I mean, you talked about the next couple of days, or next couple of days, couple of months, prior to July 4th, 30, 60, 90 days. What should we be watching for? I mean, you stated, of course, there's going to be some rumblings and so forth. We know that the military National Guard is dispatched already. How about like these elections and so forth? I mean, so many of them. Look at Hungary. President Trump went ahead and was hoping for one event, and it turned out to be another. We know that that was all corrupt. So
Mhm.
what do you say, John?
Well, a lot of folks are worried about our midterms.
Right.
I'm not worried at all. If you really understand the plan that everyone laughs at when they say trust the plan, that plan that you're laughing at, when you understand that plan and you know how to read the comms of the president and they're not hard anymore. My God, it's so easy at this point. How I've somebody put together a video montage, two different ones I've seen. I should have saved them. One of them went off like 8 minutes. And all it was for 8 minutes was hundreds of clips of Trump going 17 times. 17. I went to the White House 17, like 8 minutes of 17s.
Oh my God.
Okay. Then there's another video that was produced of how many times he's referred to central casting. And I'll cite one in case people think I'm crazy. A couple of very short months ago, if that, the president put out on the social platforms in writing, he said, well, the chairman, too late, too little pal is out the door. He'll be gone. Federal Reserve chairman will be replaced. I'm happy to announce Kevin Warsh is going to be our new Federal Reserve chairman. You're going to love everything about this guy. It's going to be fantastic because he's, quote, central casting. Hello?
Oh my God.
Please, please,
I mean,
people.
it's like in your face.
Yeah. So I forgot what your question, midterms, elections. So Save America Act, pass or not pass, matters not. He'll
Yeah. Okay.
declare a national emergency for elections. He'll put
Hmm.
ICE and the military and so forth in there. He'll do all the protocols that should be there to vote legally, ID, blah, blah, blah. Uh, some say we might not even be voting, and that's a possibility too.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I heard that.
That's and we can go down that, but again, we don't have all the time to do it. The best thing I would want to kind of leave your viewers with is think outside the box would be a simple explanation. But please, when the president says central casting so many times, what does that mean? When he said when he says 17, that's the 17th letter of the alphabet. That's Q. And by the way, we talked about who's really dead, who's alive, who's CGI, who's masked, who's cloned. You know what? This isn't conspiracy theory, folks. These are
Uh,
facts. You
yeah.
just got to go down the rabbit holes. It's so easy. You see the Biden mask and all the crazy stuff. It's a drip, drip, drip. But now it's the way I look at it, they're giving you, everyone's waiting for the disclosure. What are you waiting for? It's been happening every day for years.
Right.
And I know they're waiting for the big arrest. You have to address that, the big arrest. That's not what you should be focusing on, the big arrest. First off, a lot of them have already happened and they
Yeah.
will be shown to us. And they'll either be shown to us as though it's real time, or they'll
Yeah.
be shown to us honestly that this already took place? I don't know. We'll find out. It doesn't matter. And some that haven't been processed yet will be. And the reason you don't have arrests, in my opinion, in the civilian courts for all the big
Oh,
people is because what we're doing now is exposing the judicial system and its corruption. You
pretty
can't process a
strong.
damn thing in there. It's
Come
all
on.
over in the military, folks, which is
Yep.
why it's been so expanded upon. And they're
Mm,
processing in airplanes, in Guam, in ships, the Jags, Guantanamo Bay. Folks, we got it.
yeah.
But
We have everything.
so it's a new day dawning for
Yeah.
the restoration of our constitutional republic. But
Amen.
life will be very, very different because all the control mechanisms and tentacles that have been run by the satanic, demonic, evil forces have been dismantled. They're
Yes.
almost all finished at this point. And this is what we, the White Hats, the Global Defense War Military Alliance, under the Supreme Commander in Chief, Donald J. Trump, have been taking care of for 10 years. And that man, Trump, took all the arrows for every one of us. To
You
those
sure.
podcasters, how dare you turn on your commander in chief at a
Oh,
time of war? If you're in a kinetic war and you're, in the old foxhole in Vietnam shooting at people, and you get an order from the higher ups, you follow that order, or you're
that's
going to
right.
get somebody in that platoon killed.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't look at it any differently. We are in civilian active duty, even if you're not enrolled in the armed forces. Do your part. And one simple thing is don't turn on the president. Look, I understand how confusing this is. I was able to rise above it a long time ago. I'm not any smarter or any better than anyone. Listen, I don't have any more of God's light than you do. You just have to break habits and routines. Again, garbage in, garbage out. This is the time. That's what Dan Scavino is telling you. And that's what your president is telling you with those two things I read before. Clean
Come
the
on.
deck. Get
Yeah.
these people out of the way. Find the truth revealers. Do your own homework. Ground yourself in faith. Plan and prepare. We got this, folks, and we will all be celebrating in the years to come, in my opinion. No question about it. I'm thrilled to
Oh,
death. And you know what? I tried to walk away from this many times. I almost died. I was
yeah.
debanked twice, deplatformed. I've been lost
Come
almost all my family and friends. I've been through the ringer like a lot of other people, and people far worse than me. And every time I said, that's it, I have to step off the battlefield, I can't. This
Right.
is God's got me here. I made an agreement, and I don't fight it tooth and nail. There's nothing else I would rather be doing.
Oh
I
my
couldn't, what, go play golf and travel? I've done enough
yeah.
of that. And I don't
No.
even play golf, to be honest with you. But, you know, I
I
love what I do, even though it drains every ounce of energy out of me. I love being where I am, when I am, doing what I'm doing. In summary, in my platform, interviewing by and large military intelligence and economic experts to help people make sense of the madness that we're going through and to help, uh, what's the word, decipher the deceptions, like all
yeah,
the
the
issues you raised, Charlie Kirk,
information. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Oh my
straight
gosh.
from the moose, the
Sure.
Pope, yeah.
Right.
Give me some fat. Well, real quick, I talked about. I'll leave it as a cliffhanger. Forget the people who watch my BOSI briefs on Monday at 6 p.m. that was just published. We discussed JD Vance. We talk about replacements of people and what's really
Oh,
going on.
yes.
Go
Oh,
check out that
oh
broadcast.
my gosh. We've got to have you back on, John,
And
because you
and
just opened my memory.
I'll drop the Elon Musk bomb real quick. And
Okay,
this will
please.
definitely put me in the insane asylum category for some of your viewers. And it's
Uh,
okay.
that's all
I don't
right.
care.
They'll find
I don't
out.
care. So
Who's
here
the
it is. And by the way, a little joke about our friend Robert De Niro. You know that guy. You're very good. You're very yo. That guy, Robert De Niro. We always say about Rob. I published something on Facebook. I said, Mr. De Niro, sir, you are now officially out of the circle of trust. And he certainly is. But back
Yeah.
to Elon Musk, to leave it there. I believe, just my opinion, you want to talk about a psyop war, you want to talk about a war that's been well planned out for a long time. Elon Musk was the gazillionaire darling of the left who was basically going to accelerate our demise as a race
Right.
with his chips and his technologies and all that stuff.
Robots, everything
They
else.
loved him. So you take the ones they love and you
Mm,
use them. So
yeah.
he was, in my opinion, done away with
Yeah.
because of crimes against humanity and treason against the human race, done through proper methods and tribunal, and was recreated. And for those that don't know about cloning, it exists. Those that
It
don't understand masking, it exists. In my humble opinion, this is a creation of Elon Musk. And what was the first thing he was signed to do? Take
Yeah.
over the crime scene called Twitter and
That's
restore
right.
free speech to the president.
Come on.
So, and he's, and he can go on. I can analyze any figure. JD Vance, I can have a party with this character.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I
And
love that.
JFK Jr., we can touch on that
Oh,
one
come
day.
on now. You get me all excited here. You know what's so funny is that, and my husband, he's like, oh gosh, what is she going to say now? Because he was in Intel in the Army and then worked for the Air Force too. And so, he said when he met up with the Korean guy, whatever his name is, um,
Kim
yeah,
Jong-un,
yes, and
little
that
rocket man.
exactly. Well, they told him that just be aware that he's a clone. So
Wouldn't surprise me.
and he told me
Nothing surprises me.
years ago. So I mean, all this stuff, guys, it is for real. It is so for real what is going on. Hey, and I want to let other people know too, because with YouTube, I thank God that they've let you on, let me back on, guys.
I may
And
have just got you thrown off. I didn't think about that. You
no,
could
no,
have
no, no. That
censored
that's
me.
That's fine. Hey, but we're both on Rumble too, guys, Upfront in the Prophetic, and then jmcbroadcasting.com. You'll always know where John is. I want to throw this out to you too, because I had a little broadcast at the beginning. But if you're looking to change your life dramatically and also help for over 25 years feed children in over 90 countries, contact us at the 800-803-5129. We are making a difference worldwide, and we'd love for you to be a part of it, not only to change your life, but now you can change your life as well as your health and financially. This is huge, guys. John, I want to thank you so much. I had so much fun with you today. It's been so powerful. And, I mean, we've clearly in a moment's time where things are shifting, the structures, the systems, the narratives, even the people that we trust, some we
Correct.
cannot trust, AI, so forth. But whether someone sees this as an uncertainty or an opportunity, one thing is clear, John, is that we are not backing down. We are
No,
not. We are standing tall. We are standing firm on what we believe. We're trusting the plan, trusting God's plan. So I thank you for bringing clarity, perspective, and actually the courage to this conversation. And everyone watching, please always stay aware, stay grounded, and stay engaged, because history is being rewritten right now and you're living it. It's powerful times, John. Powerful.
very powerful, very powerful.
Again, my
I'm
brother.
happy to be here.
Amen. Me
Sorry.
too. I said, let's have you on again real soon, my brother.
Thank you very much. I I dread watching this episode. I like being a host where I'm reserved, I'm in control. I hardly speak. I extrapolate what I need from the guests and so forth. But I find myself when occasionally I'm in this seat, I'm pretty unleashed and like
I
off the
love it.
cuff. So pardon me for my lack of conformity and so forth and so on. But
Oh, no.
it's on the record, and I stand by everything I said.
It is on the record, John. And actually, I believe so many people love to see you and who you really are, and the the experiences that you've journeyed through, and why you're here today, because God had a bigger plan, and you didn't know it back then, but now you do, and you've stepped into it. So thank you for being obedient. We love you, brother, and appreciate
You
everything.
bet.
All righty, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, you
God
welcome.
bless you. Thank you.
God bless you too. God bless you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on Upfront in the Prophetic. It was a phenomenal show. Get this out to everyone you know, guys. Blessings. Woohoo! Thank you, John.
Join JMC Broadcasting's monthly Global Defense War Military Panel. JMC hosts an esteemed panel of military experts, including Ricardo Bosi, Tom Lennox, Chuck Sellers, Michael Jaco, Derek Johnson, Brad Wozni, and other military guests. Join us each month, where this panel of esteemed guests analyze the current events across a broad spectrum of topics, addressing the questions and concerns that you have. Subscribe for free by visiting jmcbroadcasting.com. John looks forward to seeing you at the next episode of the Global Defense War Military Panel broadcast, right here on jmcbroadcasting.com.